between protesters, ICE agents, and state police outside the Delaney Hall ICE detention facility in New Jersey.
These were individuals that were well organized. We've arrested individuals that came in from Portland. We've seen that they've been well supplied. We've seen Antifa flags being flown.
Separately, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to testify about the State Department budget before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
And finally, in Oregon, a ballot initiative this November would ban hunting and fishing.
According to Axios Portland, the outdoor recreation industry generated $8.4 billion in Oregon's economy in 2023. A big part of that was the hunting and fishing scene. Places like the Columbia River and the Cascade foothills drive outdoorsmen to the state for such activities. However, now a ballot initiative with 120,000 signatures is threatening the hunting and fishing scene in the state by seeking to make participating in such activities a criminal offense. David Michelson is the IP28 campaign leader, and he says that the group wants people to shift away from killing animals and start treating all wildlife the same as they treat their companion animals, such as their dog or cat. On Fox News, Oregon Democratic State Senator Anthony Broadman says that he hasn't seen much support for the proposed ballot initiative.
I personally haven't met anybody who supports this. In fact, when people hear what the ballot initiative is actually going to do, they're pretty shocked.
He also said that supporting Oregon's hunting and fishing industry is a bipartisan issue and said that he'd rather be focusing on other things such as education or public safety. However, he did say that it is the beauty of public process to look at all issues, even the poor ones. Senator Broadman also brought up the fact that hunting and fishing licenses are ways the state already helps the local animal species.
There's so many things wrong with limiting hunting and fishing, which at the end of the day, hunting and fishing licenses are one of the ways that we do some of the incredible habitat restoration work for game and non-game species here in Oregon.
The 120,000 signatures means that the proposed bill will make it onto the Oregon ballot in November. I'm Caleb Castile.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
Hey friends, I want to invite you to our Called to Care equipping event on Saturday, June 13th in Plano, Texas. If you're a ministry leader, a pastor, counselor, or someone who feels called to help others, this is the event for you. Our theme this year is From Hurt to Hope. You can join us in person or online, so sign up today at hopefortheheart.org/events or text the word event to 70919 to learn more.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. Today is Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2026. And in studio with me is Wesley Wildmon. Good morning, Wesley.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris Woodward.
Hello.
That's the spirit, Chris, right there.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there, yeah. You're getting there.
HR told me to be cheerful.
And and you are. And Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Brother Ray.
Hey, Tim. How you doing this morning?
Doing well. How's everything in Kansas City?
Well, I tell you what, it's a beautiful day here. We got a few clouds, but the rain has passed us by, and a beautiful early summer day here in Kansas.
You know, we live in obviously the Tupelo, Mississippi area, and we've been getting last 2 weeks just rain, and that's true across most of the Southeast. Mm-hmm. Of course, most of the Southeast was also experiencing very dry, drought type weather. So, you guys got a lot of rain or no?
We got a lot of rain last week, and it passed us by, but it was good.
Yeah, you needed it.
Yeah, Marlene and I were flying back into Kansas City over the weekend, and you look out the window of the plane as we're coming into the Kansas City airport. It's green for miles and miles around. So thank God for the rain. And
amen.
I'm glad for some sunshine.
Amen. Well, give us a good word from the Bible this morning, if you would.
Well, you know, Tim, I've been out and about the last couple of weeks. And last week, Marlene and I were in Budapest, Hungary, teaching the book of Hebrews at Word of Life Bible Institute. And had a wonderful time over there. Taught about 37 students. These are college-age students there were 37 students there from 15 different countries, a whole bunch from South America and Central America, and some from Africa and all over Europe. So it's a very cosmopolitan group of students. Well, You know, Tim, the book of Hebrews is all about, it's on one hand, it's about the greatness of who Jesus is. But there's a warning there in the book of Hebrews. Don't drift. Don't drift spiritually. You have these famous warning passages in the book of Hebrews. So as part of my teaching last week, all this is just introduction to the verse I'm going to read here. One of the most famous verses in the book of Hebrews is Hebrews 2, verse 1, where the writer says, we must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard. He's talking about the truth of who Jesus is. Pay attention to it so that we do not drift away. Do not drift away. In a sense, that's the whole book of Hebrews right there. It's a warning. Don't drift. And the argument of the book of Hebrews is what starts with drifting turns into unbelief, and unbelief turns into apostasy, and apostasy turns into falling away, turns into despising the Lord, and finally lose all interest in who Jesus is. It's a really scary thing because, you know, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know it's easy for myself to realize, well, I'm starting to drift a little bit, and it doesn't feel very serious. But my friends, what starts with drifting, it just you just kind of get in the wrong pattern and you drift away from Jesus, and one day you wake up and you're a long way away. Well, I had finished my teaching over in Hungary. It was the last day, and we finished on a very high note. And one of the students from France, beautiful young girl, I guess 18, 19 years old, came up and asked me the most sincere question. Can you tell me, she said, I've heard you teach, can you tell me, what should I do so that I do not drift away from Jesus? What a marvelous question that is. And I told her, well, there are three things, and they're all in the book of Hebrews, and we all got to do all three of them. Number one, we got to fix our eyes on Jesus. That's Hebrews 12. Fix your eyes on Jesus. You lift your eyes away from your problems, from your struggles. Get a good gaze, get a good grasp of who Jesus is, the mighty, exalted Son of God. As long as you keep your eyes focused on Jesus, friends, you'll be able to survive the problems and trials of life, and you won't drift away. So that's number one. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Number two, watch your life. Watch your life. Hebrews 3 says, be careful. It's a Greek word that means keep your eyes open spiritually, because drifting and unbelief can happen almost while we're not even paying attention to things. So keep your eyes on Jesus. Number two, watch your life, watch your heart. And number three, take time to encourage other people. And Hebrews 3 says we should encourage one another. Chris, what that means is you and I got to encourage each other. And Wesley, you and I, we got to encourage each other. And Tim, you and I, we got to encourage each other. And when you see that I'm down, you got to come around and may either pat me on the back or give me a good kick somewhere to get me going back in the right direction. And Wesley, it's the same way. If I see you struggling a little bit, I got to just come along and say, hey, Wesley, hang in there, brother. We are going to make it. So, friends, let's stay close to Jesus. Let's not drift away. Number one, let's focus our eyes on Jesus. Number two, let's keep our heart in the right place. Number three, let's be sure to encourage each other. Friends, the Christian life is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and we need to help each other to keep running so we can cross the finish line for the glory of God.
Amen.
Yeah, well, you know what he also just did there? He fulfilled Hebrews 3:13 that says to encourage each other day after day, as long as it's still called a day, so that we're not hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. And that's the next chapter over. And then
where is that, what you just quoted?
Hebrews chapter 3, verse 13. And then also at the end of Hebrews, it reminds us part of this is the Southern way of saying go to church. But the Bible says don't forsake the gathering of believers, and that comes from the book of Hebrews. Mm-hmm. The Hebrews, just like Ray said, it is constantly telling you, you've got to have accountability. You got to, as a Christian, in this case, in chapter 10, verse 25, don't quit going to church. You got to go to church, because driving to church, I often will ask Bennett, who knows the answer to it. I'll say,
your son.
My son Bennett, and he's 10 years old. I'll say, hey, Now, why is it we're going to church today? And there's there's a lot of reasons we
Right,
go.
sure.
But the two reasons that I'm looking for, and is one, so that we can learn and know about God, worship God, all one answer. Two, so that we can fellowship with other Christians is what we talk about. And so the importance of being around other Christians. And so we all know church doesn't save you, and we know that we are the church as Christians, and we live that out in our daily lives every day. But there is something to be said about going to church and fellowshipping with other Christians, and the Bible tells us to do that so that we can adhere to the message there that Ray was encouraging us to.
Amen. So you're talking about this, all this teaching obviously can be found in other places in the Bible, but the emphasis is in the book of Hebrews is on what you discussed there.
Well, and this is the whole message. If Jesus is who he said he is, if he's the Son of God, if he's the one who is there for us in the time of need, just keep your eyes open, friends. Don't drift away. Stay close to Jesus, and as Wesley said, stay close to your brothers and sisters. We're all in this together. And friends, you ought to read the book of Hebrews. Mm-hmm. It's a marvelous challenge here for the 21st century.
Amen. Chris, anything to add to that? You want to break Hebrews down in Hebrew?
I am curious. Who do you think wrote Hebrews, Ray?
Well, there are three main answers to the question. If you have an older version of the Bible, maybe it'll say the Epistle of Paul to the Hebrews, and that's been probably the number one answer over 2,000 years. However, Paul's name is nowhere mentioned in the book of Hebrews. So it's not, with Ephesians it says Paul, Galatians it says Paul. We don't have that in Hebrews. So Paul is a good possibility. The other two best known possibilities are Barnabas. Paul and Barnabas were buddies. Barnabas was a Levite, and whoever wrote Hebrews had a real knowledge of the Levitical priesthood of the Old Testament. So it could be Paul. Luther said it was Apollos. Remember Apollos, who was mighty in the scriptures and was instructed by Priscilla and Aquila. I think the best answer, and this is one of the answers on my final exam. Who wrote Hebrews? The kids had to. A was Paul, B was Barnabas, C was Apollos, and D was the famous quote from Origen, the early church father, who said, as to who wrote Hebrews, only God knows.
I was going to say, I mean, and God inspired whoever it was to write it.
That's right.
So ultimately, God is the author.
Amen. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray, what's your first news story?
Well, one of the other things the Bible tells us is to pray for those in authority so that society may remain peaceful. That's 1 Timothy 2. And I say we should pray for those in authority because it would appear from various news accounts that President Trump, our president, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu might have exchanged some words during a phone conversation.
Encouraging words?
No. Things I can't say on the radio because I value my job, Tim.
Here's the story that was reported.
Mm-hmm.
Am I undercutting you here? You got more? Okay.
You go ahead.
Well, the United States and Israel went to war with Iran. All right, we know that. But 3 months ago or so? How long has that been?
It's February 28th.
Wow. Has it been that long?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a partnership, basically, as both countries said we cannot allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. It would be dangerous for Israel. It would be dangerous for the world. It would be dangerous for the United States. And so we decided to try to stop that. Well, we all know that's happened. Now the situation, it's being reported is that the United States and Israel are at odds over this point. Iran insists that a part of the, quote, negotiations that are, I guess, eternal, the negotiations are that Israel stop fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Correct.
And so the report, and it seems is that Israel, that President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, are at odds with one another over how to proceed going forward. Now, what was it that President Trump wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, about this, Chris? You got just quote from him.
Yeah. So this.
Do it. Give us a Trump voice. Can you do that?
I can't
do a Trump voice in Southern English, Chris.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones out there now that anything short of the good ones you
there's some impersonations of President Trump that are sound more like Trump than Trump does.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
I can't even impersonate
Okay.
myself.
Okay.
But after the reportedly expletive-laden phone call between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump gets on Truth Social and says this: "I had a conversation with Bibi today, asking him not to go into a major raid of Beirut, Lebanon. He turned his troops around. Thank you, Bibi! Exclamation point. I also had a conversation with representatives of the leaders of Hezbollah, and they agreed to stop shooting at Israel and its soldiers. Likewise, Israel agreed to stop shooting at them. Let's see how long that lasts. Hopefully, it will be for eternity," all caps. And he ends it with President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah. So, what do you think about all that, Ray?
Well, I hope he's right. I hope it works out. It's never as simple as the president makes it in a statement like that. I think that this is a case where the interest of the U.S. and the interest of Israel may be going in not opposite directions, but somewhat different directions. After all, if you are Benjamin Netanyahu and you are next door to Hezbollah in Lebanon,
they're firing into your country.
You cannot sit there and just take it. You have to answer back, right? You have to go up to Lebanon and do what needs to be done to get rid of them. And I am sure the President Trump, is very frustrated by that because there's a close connection between Iran and Hezbollah. No, well, let's say it another way. Hezbollah essentially is a client organization of the Iranians.
A proxy.
So they're proxy. That's a better word. Okay. So I am sure. Do I believe the reports that President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu had some words? Yeah, I'm sure they had some words. I think Mr. Netanyahu basically said, "Okay, I'll go along with you, but if they keep shooting at us,
right, we
are going to fight back, as they should."
Right. No, I agree. That's probably what happened. Here's the part of it I don't. I just question here what's going on. Well, it appears to me that Iran is dictating the terms of the quote negotiations. To me, despite what the president may say, if in fact Iran can say to the United States, "Hey, you tell Israel to stop fighting back against Hezbollah," and President Trump gets on the phone and leans on Benjamin Netanyahu to stop fighting against Hezbollah, then it tells me that Iran is running the show here.
Yeah.
Wesley, that's what it appears to me. One other thought, and then you can comment on this. What seems to me President Trump should do in this case, again, I don't know all the backdrop and all. I mean, I don't know all the. We don't know everything that the president has to deal with in this, but President Trump should tell Iran, "I'm not talking to you about Israel and Hezbollah. I'm talking about us here."
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Wesley.
Yeah, that's exactly what should happen. Oh, and I'm about to. All right, I'm also frustrated on this same topic that we're still negotiating with terrorists. I mean, at the end of the day, you open up the strait or you don't open up the strait, and you tell them what we're going to do, and you do it. Or option two, which is not likely, and I understand why, and there is an alternative. You could just say we don't. Well, the strait is a strait until everyone else wants to help open the strait, meaning you get other countries involved. Or as America, you go in and you open it up. So we're past the mark that I was personally in my commentary not wanting to get to, and us still be over there. So we're there, and so my criticism now is that our military leaders and Trump did not calculate for the Strait of Hormuz being an issue, and that's a problem for me because now I don't foresee we're stuck, and it's a problem because what up until this point, any time that they were accusing him of military actions or starting another war, it was done and out before you could criticize it. Now we're still there.
Going on months.
And there's no sign. And if I see another report of breaking news that we have an update, that there's been negotiation, and there's been discussion.
I can do you one better.
I'm not clicking on it.
I went to lunch last week.
For religious reasons.
I went to lunch last week, and I come back, and I'm walking through the newsroom. We've got a big TV on the wall, and Fox News is on, and it says news alert, and it quotes Trump as saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Really?
Well, that was from 2 months ago, right?
Yeah. No.
Really?
No,
It should be.
Yeah.
Fox will label sun comes up in the east. Breaking
Right.
news.
Right.
Let me ask you this real quick, Ray. We talked about this yesterday as it relates to a spiritual aspect of this, and that is, I said yesterday the root cause of this war is Iran's hatred for the Jews.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so because it's irrational, and I went over this yesterday. I laid it out. You know, traditionally wars are fought over land. Well, this is being fought over land, but it's not between Iran and Israel directly. Mm-hmm. Okay, Iran and Israel, 12 to 1,500 miles apart, I think, something like that. They're not. There's no historical war between these two.
Right.
So, and they're not fighting over assets. They're not fighting over, mineral rights or the right to drill oil or gas or something like that you would say, okay, this is normally what people war over. In this situation, like with Iran, with Ukraine and Russia, they're fighting over land. Okay, basically. In this case, the Iranians, the mullahs, the religious leaders, they're fighting because they hate Jews and they hate Christians because they want to see Israel, the land of the Jews, annihilated. That's why they send money to Hezbollah. That's why they send money to Hamas to try to kill all the Jews and take back that land. Now, is that a correct analysis in terms of the spiritual dynamic here?
Well, remember where we started with that chant, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They want to wipe Israel from the face of the earth. The notion of a Jewish homeland is anathema to the mullahs there in Iran. So, yeah, at the heart of it is a hatred for the Jewish people and a desire to see them wiped from the face of the earth. So you can understand why Mr. Netanyahu and the Israelis, it's different for them than for us here in America.
We're an ocean away.
We're thousands of miles away. Iran is not going to, I don't believe they have the capability to threaten the U.S. directly, but they can push the buttons and we saw during the hot part of the war what they could do in Israel. And in looking at this, how do you make peace, Tim, with people? I mean, we understand there are people who hate us, okay?
Right.
People, hatred's involved in so many facets of the human experience. That's not the question. How do you make peace with people who deny your right to exist and want to wipe you off the face of the earth? What's the foundation for peace with people who are bent on your total destruction?
Yeah, and if you're in the seat of the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, or whoever it is, you look at this and you go, you see what happened in the with the Holocaust. You see the historical attacks on Jews, and you go, never again. Mm-hmm. This is never going to happen again. And so that's what bothers me some when I hear President Trump is leaning on Benjamin Netanyahu to stop fighting back against Hezbollah, who is attacking them, because I'm going like, well, what if they were attacking Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
Would you like the Prime Minister of Israel calling and telling you to stop fighting back against those who were firing on you and killing your citizens?
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't like this report. Maybe, the bond between Israel and America has always been strong, but Barack Obama changed that. Barack Obama, he did not like Israel, and he showed it. And so things change right there. President Trump's friendship with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel has been strong, but now it's really being tested right now. So let's take our break a little early here, and when we get back, Jenna Ellis will join us. Yes, that Jenna Ellis from Jenna Ellis in the Morning Radio Show here on American Family Radio. Coming up, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
Once, while in Athens, Greece, a few of us decided to take a walk around part of that city. When we got ready to leave our hotel, an elderly lady who was in our tour group asked to go with us. We told her that we would be happy for her to come along. One of the reasons for the walk was to allow some of the other members of our group to cash some travelers' checks. So the first place we stopped was at a bank. While waiting at the bank, the lady began to tell me something about herself. She told me where she was from, who she was traveling with, and so on. Soon her conversation got around to her money. She told me how she had scrimped and saved, painstakingly looked for the best business deal, and done without down through the years. Then she informed me that about 6 months earlier she decided that since she was on up in years and that she couldn't take her small fortune with her, she was going to enjoy some of it. You know, I thought about what that lady said. I thought of all the people I knew who made it their greatest ambition in life to make another dollar. I thought about all those people whose bankroll was larger than their spirit, whose stocks were more important than their fellow man. Soon, some of us decided to go back to the hotel, while others wanted to do some more shopping. So we split, and each person went their own way. The little lady went back with me to the hotel. Now, there was a candy shop next to our hotel, and as I started into the hotel, the lady told me she wanted to go in and get some candy. So I went on into the hotel while she went next door to the candy shop. In the hotel, I continued to think about the lady and her conversion concerning her money. I thought about what the Galilean had to say about money and man's use of it. I thought of all the wars that had been fought, and all the murders that had been committed, and all the people who had become less than animals because of their greed for money. Well, after a few minutes, I decided that I would go to the candy store myself and get something sweet. The little lady was still there. She was sampling every piece of candy they had, and since no one in the shop spoke English, she was having a hard time making herself understood. I could see that the salespeople were becoming annoyed with her. I found myself a piece of candy that I wanted, paid the cashier for it, and began to eat it. The lady came over, looked at my candy, and asked me if it was good. I told her that it was, and so she told the waiter that she wanted a piece of candy just like that one, the one that I had. Well, the waiter took the candy, wrapped it, and gave it to her. "How much?" she asked. The waiter gave her the price in Greek money. She couldn't figure out the exchange rate, so she turned to me and asked, "How much is that in American money?" I answered her, "It's 12 cents. Well, she looked at me first, and then at the waiter. "That's too expensive," she said, and gave the candy back. You know, I guess that after 50 years of stinginess, parting with 12 cents is an awful hard thing to do.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildmon, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, we are announcing 2 tours coming up in 2027, March of 2027. We're going to Greece and we're going to Italy. The Greece tour we call the Footsteps of Paul, and you're going to follow the footsteps of St. Paul in the country of Greece. And then the Italian tour, the Tour of Italy, Venice, Florence, Pisa, Rome. We're calling the Make Lasagna Great Again tour. And these are coming up in March of 2027. And if you want to read all about them, the itinerary, the cost, everything you need to know about these tours coming up in March of Greece and Italy, go to tours.afa.net. That's tours.afa.net. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of good fellowship, and see some of the most historic and iconic sites in the world.
Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you and praise your name. For in perfect faithfulness, you have done wonderful things, things planned long ago. Isaiah 25:1.
This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. I'm Tim with Wesley and Chris and Ray. Hey, we want a couple of couples stop by to see us here who listen. James and Jamie from Shady Point, Oklahoma. Just met them. They stopped by, and Tim and Leslie from Mount Calm. That's right, Mount Calm, not Mount Chaos. Mount Calm, Texas, which is near Waco, I think. They are traveling and stopped by to see us here at American Family Radio. And Wesley, we do, if folks who listen around the country are traveling this summer, well, it doesn't matter what time of the year, but a lot of people travel in the summer, and they want to stop by and see our studios and meet us if we're here. Then how can they do that?
Yes, please go to afa.net/visits with an S. afa.net/visits. That's VISITS, visits. And there you can fill out just a couple of things. Name, what day you're wanting.
We need to know you're coming.
Yeah, a little heads up.
And you're bringing a cake.
That will go to our front desk, and Deanna and those at the front, Carmen, they will receive that. They will contact you quickly, and they will say, hey, what day? And they'll pick a day, and we'll come by, and we'll let you know. And as the couples that are here today, they did the same thing, and so we knew they were here, so they were given a proper tour. They got to come through Today's Issues, and in between the break, they had to come in the studio, and so
I didn't ask them where Shady Point, Oklahoma is. Ray, do you know where Shady Point, Oklahoma?
I've never heard of it. No.
Yeah, type it in. See where Shady. I forgot to ask them where Shady Point was. They look shady. I'll tell you, James and Jamie. I just wonder about them, from that town and everything.
We got questions.
You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Well, did you find out where that is? Do you know, Ray?
Are you talking about Shady?
Yeah, Shady Point.
I can do that.
Shady Point, Oklahoma. Surely it's on the map.
I was sitting here processing a joke for Shady, Oklahoma. I was trying to find a good one, and I couldn't.
I said James and Jamie look shady when I saw them, but I shouldn't have said that because I don't know them that well. I was going, and they don't look shady.
Shady Point is just south of Panama, Oklahoma.
Where is that?
There's a Panama?
There's a Panama, Oklahoma, and it's not too far from Spiro. And
come on, Ray. Okay. Give me something everybody recognizes. Norman or Oklahoma City or Tulsa or
okay,
where?
It's not far from Fort Smith, okay?
Oh, okay. Over on the Arkansas line.
That's right.
I got
far
which still we can assume has
I know where
2
Fort
or
Smith
3
is.
stop signs.
Yeah. Fort Smith, that's 100,000 people or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty big. They got more than $1 General.
Yeah.
Right there.
There you go.
He got to be more specific. Yeah. They have more than $1 General.
It tells you all you need to know.
It's across the street from a Family Dollar Tree.
That's right.
All right. We want to welcome to our show our colleague and friend, Jenna Ellis, who is the host of Jenna Ellis in the Morning on American Family Radio, a live current events, what's happening show that's aired Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock Central Time right here on American Family Radio. Good morning, Jenna.
Good morning. And yes, if you were listening this morning, you can tell it was indeed live because we had some tech issues that we're resolving. And you also heard a little bit from my dog Todd, who said hi in the back segment. So, we're getting those.
Todd's just an attention hog, he really is. So he just wants
that would be Copper,
that
actually,
would be Copper.
more than that. Yeah. Usually Todd only weighs in if it's something really serious. So, I took the squirrel in the backyard as, a really big deal.
Yeah. My little dog is a Maltese. Well, I only have one. Jenna has two. And your dogs are what? Okay.
They are golden doodles.
Okay, so we sit on our back patio a lot at night, and so the dogs can see that what humans can't. Evidently, because our little 11-pound Maltese champ, he will dart off the the chair that I'm sitting. He's usually sitting up there with me, but then when he feels like we're threatened by multiple squirrels in the backyard. I'm talking not more than
if he feels like there's an
but
invasion
there's more than
coming,
one squirrel, he's going to let me know.
See, but this is why all dogs are conservatives, because they recognize that there's borders that need protecting. They're willing to go in and fight for their homeland.
Good
they
point.
value the family, where cats are Democrats because they just sit there. They take welfare. They don't contribute. And so, if you have a dog as a conservative, I applaud you. If you have a cat, we might need to, question your politics a little bit.
Well, we have a fence between our wrought iron fence between our patio and the actual backyard, which backs up to some woods. So we get a lot of critters come through in the nighttime that he can see, and he lets us know. And I appreciate the warnings, but every once in a while you just get annoyed by it. Okay, we know the squirrels are there. You can quit barking now and come back to the chair so that the neighbors wake up the neighbors. Okay,
your point's made.
So true.
Yeah,
but our trainer for my two dogs told me something that I found really fascinating, which is that all dogs actually love having jobs, and so we know that
really
that
another conservative idea.
Right, that work is a good thing, and so obviously dogs are the biggest, the best animal for service animals, which my two dogs are for me, and so they are trained specifically for certain tasks. But our trainer was saying that all dogs, if you don't give them a job, they will appoint themselves different jobs because they know they're the home protector. They know that they have to keep things on schedule. They are very work-oriented, and that's something that's part of their implicit design and part of what makes them man's best friend. And I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Allison says, I can tell, even if I can't hear the Amazon man, I know he's coming down the driveway because, the dog lets you know, because the dog can hear things, again, that humans can't hear. All right. What about your dog, Ray? We didn't talk about your dog. Got to get your dog in there.
Oh, Sadie's the same way.
Yeah.
Sadie understands everything that Jenna just said. She understands that she is in charge. She's been appointed by God to protect us.
Oh, it's divine appointment, huh?
It's divine appointment, right? Okay. And so if anybody is coming, especially at night, Tim.
Yeah.
Especially at night. Yes. If anybody is walking just, the sidewalk outside, Sadie will raise the dead from inside the house.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Let the people know, don't come any closer.
Raise the dead. So we got divine appointment. We got the raising of the dead. Okay.
Right.
This is a Christian radio program. I think we need to throw in, maybe
something else.
The Garden of Eden, and we'll be good.
We are going to talk about the Garden of Eden next hour.
Stick around.
Yeah. Oh. All right. So Jenna, let me ask you. By the way, before we talk about the topic that we have here that you've written on, wanted to get your thoughts. I get to listen to your show for about 15 minutes each morning, 18 minutes. So I miss a lot of it.
I need to know which 18 minutes, so I make sure those are the best ones.
Well, 7:30 to 7:45 when I'm in the car coming to work, usually. But other than that, I'm kind of occupied. But let me ask you this: what do you make of the situation that we're in right now? President Trump is in dealing with Iran. Now there seems to be tension growing between Israel and the U.S. I mean, what do you make of where we are with this here?
Well, yeah, we covered this morning with my main go-to guest, Scott Eulinger, who's a former intelligence officer, and I really value his insights on all this. And one of the perspectives, though, that he has is more of a complete trust of Trump than I personally necessarily do. I do think that Trump is very wise strategically on foreign policy. I think he has a bigger picture than just kind of the war hawk that, a lot of past Republican presidents have been. I think he was right initially to engage Iran because no one thinks, unless you're a totally crazy Democrat, that Iran should have nuclear capabilities. But I do think he should have ended this sooner, and there should have been a de-escalation plan to not let it continue this far, because I don't see necessarily what our strategic objectives are in terms of perpetuating this longer and basically intervening between Israel and Iran. I know Israel is our close ally, but at the same time, there are some things that we don't have an interest in nationally, and this is where I think it's too easy that Trump is giving more ground to the anti-Israel voices that are raising stronger within the base of the party the longer that this persists. So I would like to see him, not go for regime change and, kind of all this long-term stuff. I think this will go kind of the way of George W. Bush in some of the, post Iraqi war, all of that stuff that he was ultimately criticized for. I think that that Trump needs to conclude this and return his focus to American policy, because there are so many things that Americans are frustrated right now, especially with Congress. I would love to see Trump over there every day saying, I'm meeting with John Thune, I'm meeting with Speaker Johnson, we've got to pass the SAVE Act, we've got to get our border under control, we've got to do the things that Americans actually are concerned about on the home front.
Yeah, I agree. I think all of us agree here. We're at that point. I think we were at that point prior to Memorial Day. I said if this went past Memorial Day, by this being we're not getting out of this situation, that it's going to really hurt President Trump's numbers, and it's going to hurt the Republicans in the fall. And I believe that if the die is not cast, it's almost cast. But let me ask you this, and Ray, I want you to comment here too. Any of you guys, but Jenna, let me ask you the question first. What would be wrong with President Trump saying, look, our objective was to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. We can't achieve that. It's impossible.
But we can set them back, and we did.
Yeah, and so we're coming home. We'll be watching. And if they do anything, I don't know what you say exactly. You can just say, we'll, like in our words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. If necessary. I don't know what you could leave unnecessary, undefined. Anyway, what's wrong with admitting that we can't carry out our objective?
Well, you're dealing with Trump. I mean, in all reality, that's never going to happen. He's never going to admit that there's something he can't do. I think this is somebody who asked him, yes, but he's never going to admit that, right?
Why not?
So, even because he's Donald Trump, and that's just not in his
EGO?
wheelhouse, right? So it would need to be something like a, Pete Hegseth coming out and saying, listen here, they would need to frame it in a way and couch the withdraw as saying, listen, we recognize that this was a short-term conflict. It wasn't a war because Congress constitutionally has to declare war, and we recognize and we follow the U.S. Constitution. And so we have achieved our objectives, which was to topple the regime. First and foremost, make sure that they don't get nuclear capabilities. Then, we have successfully taken out the key players of the regime that were for nuclear capabilities. And so we have successfully stopped it to this point. There's no long-term now strategic objective for the United States to stay involved. However, we will be watching and waiting. And the second that they try to do that again, we will be right there, and America's prepared. That's how you
Well, you
frame
could have
it,
said that 2
I
months
think,
ago.
more. He could have, and I think he should have, frankly.
Yeah. Ray, go ahead.
Okay, so yesterday, Mr. Trump unbelievably says this to some reporter he was talking to, about the negotiations. I don't care if they're over, honestly. I'm quoting Mr. Trump. I really don't care. I couldn't care less. If they're over, they're over. If they're not, I think they took too much time. Frankly, I thought they started to get very boring. That's a remarkable thing for an American president to say. On one hand, Jenna, it seems to me the very definition of peace negotiations is they are boring. You get down into the weeds and the details. You can't. Just seems to me that's going to happen anytime you have negotiations. You got to have people with a lot of.
But he's talking like he's watching a TV show.
Well, and that's the point. I mean, like Secret Service agents used to say to me when I was, around the White House a lot, if our day is boring, we've done our job. I mean, that's the point. They don't want their day to be exciting. And so it's in the same way. Yes, peace talks are more boring probably than going and bombing countries, but you should want the boring process of peace instead. So, and I mean, I think it's just a way, again, it's just kind of Trump's bombastic nature to say things like that.
Hey, it's Chris here. I have a question for Jenna. So
be bombastic, Chris.
This operation began on February 28th.
In a world.
One man.
Right.
In a world.
So nobody can get into the head of Donald Trump except for maybe, God certainly can, but Melania probably knows a little bit of what he's thinking, maybe some of his kids. So let's go back to February 28th and the days initially following the initial airstrikes. Do you think he thought this stuff would be over by the end of March and people would have taken over?
Knowing Donald Trump for about, how long, 8 years now, personally, I don't think he thought that far.
Okay.
And I don't think that was even remotely down the road. It's just more, let's do the next thing now and we'll deal with the consequences. And so I don't think that strategically in anything that I've observed that there's kind of this long-term scaffolded strategy. It's more of a response. And I know that people talk about, the whole 4D chess thing and all of that, but I think he makes the decisions in the moment, and he also gathers as much information and as many people's opinions as possible and delays until the last second to make a decision, which is why I also do genuinely believe the administration that making that action was necessary to keep Iran from having nuclear capabilities. Otherwise, I don't believe that Donald Trump, with his personality and the way that he makes decisions, I don't think he would have pulled that trigger.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens here, but it's to me, it's becoming apparent that Iran giving up their nuclear weapon goals, if that's a condition for us leaving and stopping the war, I don't see how you're going to get there short of just turning Iran into glass, basically.
Well, and that was Scott Eulinger's point. If you heard it this morning, he said that he thinks that Trump shouldn't have stopped the bombing, and the only way to actually force them to come to the table is to just take it back up and say, fine, then if you're stopping negotiations, we'll continue to bomb you, which is really aggressive, honestly, even for a commentator to say. I was surprised.
Yeah. All right, you're listening to today's Issues on American Family Radio. What about you? You wrote a column called on the Christian Post news site called Adult Desire versus God's Design, the True Battle Over Defining What is a Family. What's this about?
Yes, I would love everyone to read this, and you can go to Christian Post and read this piece, because especially as we're entering what the left would love to project as Pride Month, which we know June is actually yet just another month and day that God has created and ordained for our good, and he has confined us to the truth of natural law and implicit morality. And so while we have been we as Christians have been arguing and debating individual issues separately, such as the LGBTQ issue, same-sex marriage, commercial surrogacy, donor conception, parental rights, adoption policy, all of those individual issues. All of those controversies actually depend on answering one question: what is a family? And if we never define family correctly, we'll continue losing the downstream debate because we're arguing consequences instead of first principles. And so what I argue in the piece is that family, according to modern culture, is whatever adults choose to identify as a family. I mean, it's no different than the trans agenda, right? Like, these are the people I'm emotionally attached to. These are my roommates. These are my friends. These are, there's 3 guys who want to say they're married. That constitutes a family according to them. But the biblical worldview says family isn't created by preference, emotion, or desire. Family arises from the covenant of marriage between one husband and one wife and naturally extends to children of that union, whether birthed of the union or adopted in and grafted in as a picture of the gospel, and future generations. And so the key distinction here is that the modern view, the secular view, asks, what do adults want? The biblical worldview says, what has God ordained? And I think as we continue to fight for biblical policy, for the overturning of Obergefell, against Pride Month, I mean, all of these things, we have to stop arguing the issues only and go back to defining what natural law requires, because there is no way in nature that 2 men can create a baby. They have to, that is unnatural. They have to borrow from the natural in order to have a child. And we need to say clearly and definitively no. And that is, here in the United States, that's actually what our Constitution requires. Because when we talk about the laws of nature and of nature's God, and saying that God is our authority and that the rights that we as human beings have come from God and from the laws that he has written into nature, that necessarily means that 2 men can't get married and 2 men shouldn't have a baby, nor should just one single adult borrow from the natural and try to conceive as a single parent. So we need to define the family first.
And that article you wrote on this, and the family is being redefined by pop culture. And
unfortunately,
and in some cases, in some states, the laws. So, where can folks read this again?
Yes, this is in the Christian Post, and the title is "Adult Desire versus God's Design: The True Battle Over Defining What Is a Family." So, if you just Google my name, Jenna Ellis, and "What is a family," this will pop right up.
Yeah, it's also on our Facebook page. I shared it for you. Just
Today's Issues Facebook page.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Ray, any thoughts on what Jenna's just shared?
She makes the argument that Christians need to be making in the public square, that as long as we define the family on the basis of, quote, as she said, adult desires, what you want, what you think, what I want, then family's going to have no meaning at all. And that's basically what's happened in our society, Jenna, that the word family's been stretched so broadly that family means whatever you want it to mean instead of what natural law says and what God intends.
Absolutely. And this, we can argue for, and we should argue from a biblical worldview premise as Christians, obviously, but we can make the very same arguments from just the laws of nature and empirical reality. And so for people who are saying, well, I'm not a Christian, so why should I borrow your worldview? That's just the truth of reality, that in no circumstance can 2 men or just a single woman create a child. You can't have a family unit naturally unless you have 1 man and 1 woman. And so that's what nature requires. And so we can argue this from simply a rational worldview, as well as obviously the biblical worldview and morality as well.
All right. Well, Jenna, thanks for joining us. So we didn't hear anything from Todd or Copper during this.
Yes, they are laying at my feet.
They've put a lid on it.
Are they doing a siesta or what are they? They just
yes.
Okay.
So yes, they had a good time this morning barking at all of the squirrels, and so they are now good.
They're resting
until
they
are. Yes,
because they know the afternoon
Squirrels.
The wild kingdom awaits.
They will get very excited when we go to the PARK later. And I do have to spell like they're toddlers because they know words. So.
All right. Thank you, Jenna. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
Take care.
guys. All right.
Okay, that's
Bye.
Jenna Ellis joining us from FLORIDA. That's where she lives. You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm. I did.
I had to spell it because y'all know what that means. I say it.
That's funny.
It is. You know what's funny is when your kids
they start
or
learning.
your grandkids, your kids especially, when you've been spelling to avoid, and then they tell you.
I have a case study
Go
for
ahead,
that.
tell
So I have two girls. They're about 4 years apart. And we were spelling things to avoid the oldest one from being able to understand stuff. Then the second one comes along. And by that point, the oldest one knows how to spell a few things. And so my wife and I were having a conversation about there being C-A-K-E after supper. But my wife's like, well, the youngest can't have the C-A-K-E unless she eats all of her supper. And my oldest goes, why can't she have cake? And we were outed right there.
So you learned you'd reached the point where spelling didn't work any longer.
I-D-I-D.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break right here. And Chris, I want to thank you for your outstanding contributions to this show this hour. We wish you the best.
I made it, Mom.
Wish you the best the rest of your day. Which of our wiffle ball teams are you on this afternoon?
I am not playing. I have been selected to help do some color commentary with our Parrish Alford of AFN.net.
Okay.
He's the analyst.
We're going to be the Neil and David Kellum.
We got a little friendly competition among our staff this afternoon. And so the anticipation builds for a wiffle ball game that will be heard around the world.
Sponsored by Advil and ibuprofen.
We'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
Where can you access instruction and inspiration from scholars, apologists, authors, preachers, and activists to deepen your Christian understanding? You could enroll in seminary, but a better way might be the AFA Cultural Institute. You'll find a collection of more than 50 informative inspirational video lectures with more to come. Visit stream.afa.net to experience the AFA Cultural Institute.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Voters across the nation heading to the polls today. In California, they're electing a new governor. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders talks about what is driving the fact that an independent or Republican could win the governor's seat in a state long dominated by Democrats.
Well, I think what you're seeing are just the out-of-control left policies have left the state of California in a financial crisis with a housing crisis. Gavin Newsom is literally lighting money on fire while California burns to the ground. Just within the last few weeks, he signed a nearly $200 million contract to give 90,000 prisoners iPads, while people in his state haven't been able to rebuild their homes after 2 years from wildfires.
The Democrat Party remains divided as the rise of socialism infects the party. Fox News contributor Guy Benson talks about what's happening.
Two things are happening here, I think. Number one, a lot of younger voters in particular on the Democrat side, but their base more broadly is turning hard against capitalism, the most miraculous economic system ever devised by man that has pulled more people out of poverty than any other by far, that has turned this country into the wealthiest and most prosperous on planet Earth. There are frustrations, some of them genuine, some of them, I think, bogus, that people are feeling, and they have been fed a steady diet of anti-capitalism as a scapegoat, and the party is now kind of embracing that because they see where the winds are blowing, right? They are caving and catering to that. Secondly, there is this scapegoating of the Jewish state, which has always had a toehold on both ends of the spectrum. It now has more than a foothold on the left side.
The state of Florida is floating a proposal to eliminate property taxes. Governor Ron DeSantis says Floridians need relief.
We've gone from local governments taking $32 billion in 2019 in taxes to now $60 billion. Homeowners need relief. And so it's my view that if you are a Florida resident and you have a homestead, we want that to be tax-free.
There's been an outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Samaritan's Purse is running to the epicenter. Steve Jordahl reports.
Epidemiologists say nearly 1,300 people have confirmed cases of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. More than 250 people have died. The epicenter is in Bunia, a city of 2 million people. Ken Isaacs of Samaritan's Purse says the town is a perfect storm for transmission.
All of that together, dense population, poor healthcare system, and migratory people is really it's a good place for the disease to spread and to grow. But I don't think it's going to become a pandemic like COVID.
Samaritan's Purse built an Ebola treatment center in 2014, giving hands-on patient care and reducing infection rates by providing hygiene training and prevention education across affected communities. Isaac says they're stepping up again.
We are equipping our partners through 2 mission hospitals there, and we're also building a Ebola treatment center in Bunia, and that will probably be a 50 to 100 bed facility. It's all being arranged right now.
He says this is a new strain that's difficult to diagnose.
The symptoms on presentation at a hospital, it could be malaria, it could be parasites, it could be many different things at the early onset.
Already 2 missionary doctors have been flown to hospitals in Europe where they're recovering. Isaac says Samaritan staff are taking all the precautions necessary, but the ministry is going regardless.
It's what we do. We run to the fire when fires happen in the world, and we want to do that in Jesus' name, but we need to serve people.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
And U.S. job openings jumped in April as the labor market looked resilient despite economic uncertainty. The Labor Department reports today that U.S. employers posted 7.6 million job vacancies in April, up from 6.9 million in March, and much higher than the 6.8 million economists had forecast. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues here on American Family Radio. We got 24 and a half more minutes coming your way. I'm Tim with Wesley and Ray, and Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
All right, Steve.
Yes,
so, by the way, you doing okay today? Or?
I am. Can I just real quickly, I heard you guys talking about the spelling thing to keep from my kids. My parents had the ultimate triumph there in that, you know, we spent the years on the mission field. Madagascar has 2 languages, official languages, French and Malagasy. We all learned French. I never bothered with Malagasy. Neither did my sister. So my parents, through our teenage years, they could still if mom was around, but they would speak Malagasy with each other, and they had no idea what they were talking about. Not a clue. It still would work.
Now, there are times that I need to be able to spell things, and I can't anymore, but not to the degree of wanting to learn a second language. You know?
Or a third in Steve's case.
Yeah,
French and Malagasy.
This is what I admire most about my father. I mean, so many things. So many things. But
he's still with us.
He is.
Yeah.
He's 93. And his job was to translate seminary books from English to Malagasy, but there was no English to Malagasy dictionary, at least not in the 70s. And so he had to learn French. And so he would translate it from English to French and then from French to Malagasy. So he had to translate from a second language to a third that he had just learned. Just amazing. Amazing.
You talk about an unsung hero.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're out there all over the place where the spotlight's not shining on them, but God's spotlight is.
This year's Southern Baptist Convention in Orlando, I believe, is going to be one of the things that they're voting on is a resolution to commend pastors who finish well, who commend Christian workers who finish well. I think it's a great.
Ray, what were you going to say?
Well, what your dad was doing, I mean, this is not, you're not translating cat in the hat kind of stuff.
No.
You're talking serious theology, serious Greek and Hebrew, and it's a heavy concept.
So, fourth and fifth language in there. Greek.
That's right. That's right. Kudos to your dad.
Yeah.
God
So let me ask you this: living in Madagascar, you call the language what?
Malagasy.
Was that just native to Madagascar?
That's the only place they
was it a
speak
blend
Malagasy.
of French and something else?
No, it's
like,
its own. I don't know. You know, you can usually, if you speak a Latin language like French, you can usually kind of figure out the other Latin languages.
Yeah.
So you can kind of know what they're talking about. This is probably have some Indian roots,
right?
And African tribal roots. No,
it's not
nothing
related.
in common with English or any other language that I would have known.
Okay. You're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. What's this story about the Garden of Eden?
Yeah, so scientists have been trying to figure out. The Bible mentions 4 rivers that flowed from the Garden of Eden and into and out of the Garden of Eden, and so Tigris and Euphrates being 2 of them, but they're still with us today. But they for the longest time they couldn't figure out how the Euphrates River was formed, and they didn't discover like any archaeological evidence of Eden, but they have discovered the roots of the river. And I have to say, just a disclaimer here at the beginning: the story talks a lot about millions of years of geological discovery. We can have the debate later about young Earth, old Earth.
That's
not what this is about.
Okay.
So scientists concluded that the modern Euphrates was formed with 2 older rivers. They're called the Paleo-Crassau and the Paleo-Murat. Basically, many years ago, the Mediterranean Sea dried up. It was called the Messinian salinity crisis.
This is the theory.
This is the theory.
That scientists...
They have good evidence that this happened.
Okay.
Because of the salt deposits on the bottom. But so the Mediterranean Sea almost completely dried up, and because of the tectonic shifts, they combined to create the Euphrates River. So they've been able to map the origins of this river, which speak into the 2 rivers that the Bible talks about, and the Euphrates and the Tigris. So it's important to say that this does not provide evidence that the Garden of Eden existed, but what it does, it explains the geological origins of one of the rivers associated with the biblical story.
You're citing a story I found on the Daily Mail, right?
Yeah, yes.
When you keep quoting, you're quoting from that.
I'm quoting from that and from the National Geographic. Yeah.
National Geographic?
National Geographic.
We posted this story on our Today's Issues Facebook page, as we do most of the stories that we cover here. But the reason I wanted to talk about this, Ray, number one is the fact that the rivers mentioned in the, which is that the book of?
Genesis.
Genesis.
First, yeah.
That so the river is mentioned in the book of Genesis, which is where the Garden of Eden story is. Duh, Tim. I know that's what you are thinking, but I was about 5 seconds behind myself there. But anyway, so the Euphrates and the
Tigris
are still around today.
Yeah.
Right.
The rivers are still
in Iraq. They meet in Iraq
in modern day.
Yeah.
Iraq, which is yesteryear Babylon.
Yeah,
right?
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia, the Babylonian, where Babylon was near there. So, Ray, my question to you is, and I know the answer before I ask it, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you believe that there was a literal Garden of Eden, as mentioned in the Bible, or do you think that was a fable or a metaphor, if you will? Or do you go ahead?
I suppose the question beyond that is, do you believe there was an actual Adam, or was he a metaphor? Was there an Eve? Was she a metaphor? Because once you go down that road, what you end up with is a myth or a legend that has no connection to historical reality. If you just take the Bible as it is written, and we can look at science, we can think about that at some point, and we should, but if you just take the Bible the way it's written, it's quite clear that when Moses wrote the book of Genesis, he wasn't writing it mythologically. He wasn't writing it symbolically. He believed that there was a first man and a first woman, Adam and Eve, and all humanity comes from those two people, and therefore the story of the Garden of Eden is not just, is it symbolic? Yeah, there's symbolism involved. But the question is, Tim, was there a real place
right. That's
called
what I'm
the
asking.
Garden of Eden? And the answer is absolutely yes. And this detailed stuff in the article's interesting, just showing us these two rivers have been around, Tigris and Euphrates, have been around from the very beginning.
I'm going to find a way to tie this back to some hunting.
Here we go.
I can see where this could happen. Go ahead. Adam hunted in the Garden of Eden.
I have several apps that I use for hunting, and one of those apps, and it helps you figure out terrain and things. There's an app out there called Cal Topo, and this app has got a newer technology, and I'm not gonna try to explain it anymore. I'm trying to keep it simple. But there's a radar technology now that they can. Don't ask me how they can do it, but they can.
They being scientists.
They being scientists can use radar in a certain device to be able to show where a creek, river, or low spot was in years past that doesn't exist anymore. And so I'm able to use that. Now, I tested it and played around with it, and I was able, in my experience using it, to be able to confirm where a pond was that's no longer there anymore. And anyways, there's some pretty cool stuff out there like that, but when I was playing around with it and learning it, I didn't think about it being used in this type of.
Right.
And
that's what they're doing.
That's right, exactly what they're doing. And this is a very similar technology that is being used on the Ark. If you remember the
ground penetrating radar for the Ark. Jupiter.
That's cool.
The Mediterranean Sea being dry, that would be unbelievable.
So basically what happened is they say that the tectonic plates closed the Straits of Gibraltar, and there was no water. There was no water flowing in from the ocean, so evaporation dried up. And they say, by the way, when it opened up, it was because of an earthquake or whatever happened, it took mere months to refill the Mediterranean to the place where we see it today. It had dried up. You can imagine the flood, the amount of water that would have to come in to fill the Mediterranean in months.
Yeah, I would have hated to build a house down there.
I know. Well, it was dry for a long period, depending on how you read the geological information.
You know, this article from the Daily Mail, which it's very interesting. And I know, Steve, it gives these long ages of millions of years. Yeah. And you said we can have a discussion about that. But I'm looking at the article right now, and they have this, it's a map, basically, of the Tigris and the Euphrates, and they've got Uruk and Ubald and Urdu and Ur the Chaldees. Yeah. Okay, that's Abraham's city. And there were four rivers mentioned in the book of Genesis, Tigris, Euphrates, and then two that have never been conclusively identified, one called the Gihon and the other the Pishon. Well, in this map, There's a river called the Karun River. They speculate that could be the Gihon. They got a question mark by it in the Pishon. That's a dotted line there. But this is interesting, Steve.
Yeah.
You've got they point out the Garden of Eden. They've got a green area where they think it could have been. Okay, it's right down by the sea. Okay, where it should be. Fine. But I notice they say the shoreline was different then. The shoreline of what sea would that? Was that the Persian Gulf? What would that be?
Would that be the Red Sea? Let me look on a map here.
What is the one that Tiger? Yeah, maybe that is the Persian Gulf. I guess it is. Has to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's the Persian Gulf where we're flowing toward the Strait of Hormuz. But look at this, Steve. It shows, and this is from the Daily Mail. It shows the Garden of Eden in green down there. Shoreline was different, and shoreline was receded from where it is today, and it lists the date of that shoreline as 6,000 BC.
Yeah, what happened? That's about what the
we
Bible
says. Call
says.
him Ken Ham and our friends up in Answers in Genesis.
They're
right
saying
there.
I told you so.
There you go.
Into the Persian Gulf. This is what the Tigris and Euphrates empty into the Persian Gulf.
So this is all very interesting. So you're saying that Ray, that the Garden of Eden did exist, and that Adam and Eve were real people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Look, if you believe Jesus is the last Adam, and that's the argument Paul makes, or call him the second Adam, if you want to say it that way, in Romans chapter 5, that's the argument Paul makes, that what we lost in Adam, we gained in Christ. That only makes sense if you believe Jesus was a real person. It really only makes sense if there was a literal, actual Adam who took the fruit from Eve and ate it, and sin came crashing into the human experience. I think if you want to take the story of Jesus literally, then we ought to take the story of Genesis 1, 2, and 3 literally also.
And by the way, there is some DNA evidence, not conclusive, by my understanding. I don't understand it completely, but you can trace DNA. All DNA, we all or originated from one single source. So,
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, well, you either believe it or you don't.
Right.
And it's either true or it isn't. So, for the folks who want to say, well, the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve are mythological or they're metaphorical, things of that nature, I go, you really can't have it like that. Okay. Either because the whole story of the Bible and the redemption of mankind based on original sin and what followed through thousands of years and what Jesus did is based on the reality of Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Garden of Eden and the creation story. So, that's fine if you don't believe it. But you can't have both, okay? You can't disbelieve Genesis and somehow believe something about Jesus, because what is Jesus? Jesus himself referred to
Adam.
Adam. So go ahead. Anyway, I was going to say that's all I got to say on that, but you guys look like you got something else you want to say on that.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm learning from the best.
That's okay. I rarely interrupt. I like to lead by example.
I was going to add that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't interrupt much.
I was going to help you say it in another way, but you remember the book The Carpenter? Is that what it was? Either Jesus is a liar or he's Jesus himself.
More than a
carpenter.
By Josh McDowell.
He's either Jesus, who he says he is, or he's a liar, but he's not. I'm sorry.
Okay, here's what you're referring to. You're on the right track. Yeah. Josh McDowell, in that book you're talking about, More Than a Carpenter, which is excellent. It's about Josh McDowell being an atheist and a skeptic, and him doing research to prove that the Bible wasn't true, only led to him being converted because he realized the Bible was true.
That's right.
That was Josh McDowell. But what you're referring to is Mere Christianity, I think it is.
Yeah, it's C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, where he says
trilemma.
He says either Jesus is a liar, lunatic, or what?
Lord.
Or Lord. But it can't be.
You choose one.
Yeah, you have to choose one.
Yep. And in this case, with what the evidence we got here, back to the myth being either a myth. It's either true or it's not, but it can't be a myth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Ray, any comment on that? What was C.S. Lewis saying there?
He was trying to combat the notion that a lot of people have. I mean, a lot of people have, that Jesus is a good man and he is a good teacher and we're learning great stuff from him, but he's not really the Son of God.
Right.
Lewis calls that away with all this patronizing nonsense.
Right.
He is the Lord, or if you want to call him a liar, if you want to dismiss him as a lunatic.
Because he said he was the Son of God.
He said he was the Son of God. A man who said that and was not really the Son of God, he's either a liar or he's a lunatic, or he says maybe he's the devil from hell. But do not water down Jesus to make him just another good teacher. Yeah, he didn't leave us with that alternative.
Yep. That's a good point. It's either one or the other. Because anybody who say they're the Son of God is a lunatic, if they're not.
That's right. If they're
That's
not.
what he's saying. If
Or they're just lying.
Or they're just lying, right.
Or they're just lying. But who, and also you have to ask yourself, who would go to, Frank Turk talked about this, who would go to he talked about this in relationship to the disciples, I think, or apostles, but who would die for a lie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, at some point when you're being crucified, you're going to say, "Oh, whoa!
I made it up.
I'm just kidding," or whatever you want to say.
Sure.
I'm just, But and the same way with the ones who
martyrs
who died. They died. They could have said, "No, I don't mean it."
Yes, right.
I'm just faking it.
Also say that Jesus backed up his claim of godhood with his miracles. No one else has been able to do that.
That's right.
Yeah. God, Jesus Christ, had the control over the supernatural. Yeah. I mean, he was supernatural, so he could control the elements. Right. I mean, he could do.
He came back from the dead.
He created them.
That's why I get it's interesting to me when skeptics or people try to, especially your mockers and your scoffers of the Bible and Christianity. They want to say things like, you really believe that the Red Sea parted, and there's dry land, and the Israelites crossed the Red Sea. You really believe that, Tim, don't you? You hear that kind of condescending, and I say, yes, I do. And guess what? We are talking about God here. Okay, so if you don't believe in God, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, that's your choice if you don't believe in God. Now, ultimately, it won't be fine for you if you don't believe in God, but for our argument's sake, if you want to say, I don't believe in God, just take the supernatural realm out of it. But if you do believe in God, then he created everything, and yes, the Red Sea parted because he told it to.
That's right.
Okay, so, I mean, I tell you what, the Bible does warn against the mockers and the scoffers, right, Ray?
Well, it does, and they're going to be with us to the end of days. This is why it's so important that we need to get our feet down in the truth of God's word, planted firmly. There's a lot of confusion about Jesus out there. There's a lot of that. That's what C.S. Lewis said, patronizing nonsense, watering down Jesus, make him just a good man, make him just a good teacher. That's not possible. It is not possible. He is who he said he is. He's the Lord from heaven. Or if you choose to reject him, write him off as a liar, call him a lunatic, something else. But don't just say Jesus is a good teacher. He's not just a good teacher. To go back to Josh McDowell's book, Wesley, he is a carpenter, but he's a teacher. He's more than a teacher. He's the Son of God from heaven.
Amen. I really want to get to this one.
Go.
All right. Did you know that Google is planning on releasing millions of mosquitoes into the wild in Florida and in California? They're working with the Environmental Protection Agency to figure out just where and when. But these are mosquitoes that are infected with a particular virus that when they mate with the female, these are male mosquitoes, when they mate with the female, the babies the little mosquitoes, they don't survive. So it's basically a way to reduce the mosquito population. And mosquitoes, of course, they're the They carry diseases like West Nile virus, encephalitis, dengue fever, Zika, yellow fever, and they're hoping to really reduce the transmission of those diseases by reducing the number of mosquitoes.
So,
let's recognize, but Paul, California is doing something of value.
Okay. Well, bless their hearts.
Something to know that I didn't know either is that only female mosquitoes bite. So by releasing millions, they're not increasing the.
All right, hold on just a minute.
Yeah, here we go.
Google.
Yes, Google.
So are we going to see a bunch of 18-wheelers with Google mosquitoes on the side of the truck
Right, I don't
traveling
know
down
how
I-10 from California?
Mosquitoes flying out from the back.
I don't know how they. I don't know.
Repeat
how
the
they do
headline here, Steve, because
Google.
we're not making this up.
No. Google is planning to release millions of mosquitoes into California and Florida to help stop diseases.
Oh, California and Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I didn't know they had mosquitoes in California.
Yeah.
Do they?
We definitely got them in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Florida, the biggest trees.
So
Those
Google
mosquitoes
has
fly around like elm trees.
Google has a public health policy. They have public health projects, and this is one of them.
Now,
Any word on the logistics here, Wesley? Can you explain how this is going to take place? Thank you, Wesley.
It's going to be just like what the headline reads. They're going to back in. They're going to open it up.
Open it up.
No,
open up the Google trucks, and here come the mosquitoes.
No, I don't know that. But see, I will not go to bat for mosquitoes beyond this point.
Yeah.
But if you look into it, they seriously have a place in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So you got to be easy with this.
You just wanted to use the word ecosystem.
That's
just to make you sound smart. And you did it.
By Tuesday's served.
Okay.
Tuesday's done.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you have a good ecosystem today.
I wanted to say it one more time,
know,
and now you've said it. Now
yeah,
I can't say it.
I know. Beware of Google mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Although they're harmless, right?
They are harmless.
They can't bite
to people. Yeah.
They can't bite.
The male ones.
Okay.
They're only releasing.
They're only doing males.
It's a good thing that we're out of time here, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.